Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode on careers and business coaching. And today we are going to have a deep understanding on different elements of coaching and how relevant it is to have risk management on this role. And we have with us expert Mr. Nainesh Kumar, who's going to give us all the information that you want to hear today. So, Mr. Nainesh, welcome to this episode. And I'm happy to be the host once again on the show.
Thank you, Lini, for this introduction. And thank you for sharing this part of the day with me today on this show.
Nainesh, now, like you said, we have different segments in career. Could you please explain how coaching is going to be effective on different parts of your career and how businesses are going to learn from this coaching?
I think to respond to this question, I think first of all, it's very important and pertinent to understand what are the different elements of coaching that we talk about as far as this dimension is concerned. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to keep it limited to three specific dimensions, which is the one is about the careers, the second is about the businesses, and the third aspect is about the executive and the leadership coaching space. When we talk about careers, there are a few of the issues that come to my mind at this point of time, which is about, managing career transitions. The second one could be about, when a person is in the midst of switching jobs, but then that person might not be getting enough leads into the market in terms of how to position one well enough so that there is enough visibility for him or her, and that there could be a significant opportunity conversion at the same time. The third element could be relevant in the context of management students who might be looking forward to target the right roles that appeal to them as far as their personality traits are concerned, as far as their career interests are concerned. Yeah. And the last one which comes to my mind is in terms of professionals who might be working at current point of time, but interested to transition into the education space. So let's say they want to pursue higher management education and want to get back to the job stream after their completion of MBA or masters in whatever space that they may be thinking about. So I think these are the four, five different elements that are mostly relevant from the career coaching context. The second aspect, as we talked about when we started off, this is in the context of businesses. So there are a couple of issues or concerns that we address as far as business coaching is concerned. So the first one that is at the top of our minds is mostly from the scalability perspective. So you may be running a business of your own, but you may hit roadblocks at certain points in the journey that your business is into. And that's where some of the coaching conversations, the tools and techniques that the coaches utilize can give you some answers to the questions that you are seeking responses on. The second element could be around cultural transformation of your business. So let's say you are in an organization or you head an organization that seems to be largely bureaucratic. The voices from the lower rung of the talent pool is not encouraged when it comes to decision-making processes. So you want to transition to a culture wherein you integrate all of the people in the organization and make them an integral part of the decision-making process as well. So there could be then a great potential for a coaching conversation to uncover what is it that prevents you from building that kind of a progressive culture wherein communication is viewed as an important lever as far as organizational success and managing its priorities are concerned. The third angle and perspective is what we talk about today is about executive and leadership space, and the issues that we're trying to address through coaching are again 2 or 3 in number. The first one could be related to transition to a business leadership role. So let's say somebody might have been in an operational space or maybe head of a department or a function, but then that person has been now being handpicked for heading a business at a national level, at a global level, where he or she is expected to drive a lot of global cultures and people across global locations in the world, or even at national level, wherein the person is required to lead across different cultures, even at the national level. So that's one area. Cultural transformation is another one common topic, which is relevant from here as well, and which we spoke about when we were talking from the business standpoint, because this is, one of the strong or one of the prominent KPIs for leaders who are transitioning into an executive or leadership space.
So I understand that, taking risk is one of the main factor for any progress in the career. Now, let's say that you're moving on to executive coaching or you're taking over a head of a business, right? Now, I also understand that your field of expertise or your current profession is more into risk analysis or building up a framework on risk management. How effective do you think that you will be able to implement your expertise, your current expertise in career coaching?
I think I have over a decade of experience in risk management, and I have done this with businesses, especially in the energy space and the oil and gas and the metals and mining space. But I think over the last few years, I would say I've really reflect on what this process and what this framework actually talks about. And it came to me with a great deal of surprise that this could have much more expanded influence and relevance in other realms and dimensions that we talk about and that might be concerning to us, and in any sphere that demands certain concrete actions. So not just in businesses, I think from the individual standpoint, whenever we're managing our careers, or even in the context of managing our own businesses and running our own businesses, the factors that concern us individually can actually leverage this framework and tool to arrive at some set of actions and to monitor your progress and to identify the roadblocks and the barriers, etc., etc.
When it comes to the tool that you're speaking about, the framework, the risk management framework, could you please brief more about this tool? Because I think so that the audience can benefit more about it.
Yeah, sure. I think that would help. The risk management framework, which should be largely relevant in the context of, let's say, careers and business owners in their own personal context when it comes to managing or running their own businesses, has certain key elements that needs to be taken care of or internalized while you're managing the show, be it in the context of careers or businesses. So we start with the very first element, and it talks about identifying the risks that can be relevant from whatever point of reference that you're talking about, either in the careers or in the businesses. Then the second element that we talk about with respect to this framework is identifying indicators with respect to various risks, which could actually signal the occurrence of the risk event, how fast that could be approaching to you. And then the third parameter is about mitigation plans or the preventive set of actions that you can take to manage or counter the effect of those risks, which might play out in your context. So that's how this framework is. And in the context of your own situation, you can arrive at specific elements under these three headers, start tracking how those indicators are shaping up in due course of time, how the mitigation actions that you have defined for yourself in the context of careers or businesses are performing as the time passes, which is, going to give you some kind of food for thought at times. Also give you a sense of accomplishment. You managed to achieve certain milestones or actions that you have started out on.
Okay, that's great. So when you speak about the framework, does it go phase by phase, or is it when you achieve a milestone that you unlock and then you move on to the next phase?
It could be a combination of multiple milestones, which is relevant because there could be one. So let's say you have problems with respect to the point that you need to scale your business. Right now you're in Dubai, but you want to scale to locations like, let's say, Abu Dhabi, you want to go to Oman, you want to go to Saudi Arabia and all those geographies as well, right?
Right.
But then you are still not in a phase wherein you're getting significant traction in order to see that the results are materializing in your own context. Now, you may have decided set of XYZ things to be done. So let's say in the Dubai context, you might have already a strong foothold here in terms of the customers that you cater to. But now when it comes to expanding to Abu Dhabi, you have very limited presence there. You already have a set of established players there. Or let's say in Saudi Arabia, the market might have been highly immature there. People are not aware of the awareness level would have been there, but then let's say it's not as mature as it is in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi, So then you focus on certain set of actions. So let's say, how do you spend time and some money on marketing
And
activities,
you come into the picture.
on marketing initiatives.
Yeah.
You try and figure out what are the initiatives depending on each of the market
Right.
and the maturity of the market.
Right.
You'll have set of actions.
Yeah.
So you'll have, let's say, 10 sets of actions to be taken.
Yeah.
All 10 of them will not be achieved in one go.
Right.
Right. So the risk remains, but then as you keep checking the box item by item, the severity of that gets on reducing. It starts getting more and more favorable in your own market.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. So how do you ensure that during the time of coaching that these actions are materialized? What are the indicators?
So there are now significant research that has been done that shows that, or that goes on to show that, a significant part of your problems or concerns or issues that matter in your own context, and here we are going to limit ourselves to careers and businesses, are significantly reduced, addressed when it gets down on a piece of paper. So journaling is an important or a crucial tool that I see as something instrumental or catalyzing, which can really address these issues head on, keep you on track as far as taking actions and acting on those actions, and also realizing a sense of accomplishment as and when they get achieved, comes into picture.
Very interesting, Nainesh, because we're living in a digital era. And how important do you think this reflective journaling is going to affect or is going to contribute at the time of your coaching?
Well, journaling is an extremely important tool when it comes to structuring your emotion, thoughts, actions on a piece of paper. But when you don't reflect on it in terms of how it has been progressing over a period of time, it just gets out of your brain, mind, heart, and body, so to say. So it's very important to reflect on what you set out for, as opposed to engaging in an action which is just about doing something at a certain point of time and then just forgetting about it. So reflective journaling essentially talks about taking stock of the situation periodically. Reflective journaling has got some of the very interesting things to do with your brains, the way it is structured and the areas of the brain that it triggers when you start indulging in such actions. So when you start journaling, and from the risk management context, let's say, so that it is easy for everyone to understand, you start taking stock of various risks that might be relevant to you. And when you start doing this as part of the journaling exercise, you go on to activate the default mode network of the brain, the purpose of which is to integrate and retrieve long-term memory and also bring together the internal and external stimuli in your environment where you operate. This journaling, which led to jotting down a few relevant items which were concerning you, might not be relevant from the point of view of having focused action. You might want to decide to arrive at some of the material aspects out of those, let's say, 10 items. You might want to focus on 5 or 6 only from the materiality perspective, so that there is undivided focus and you focus on only what matters to you, most.
Okay.
Now, when you do this, this is like screening of what exists in your environment, so that your focus is undivided. Now, this goes on to activate the salience network of the brain, which guides actions and behaviors accordingly. Now, when such behaviors translate into actions, it again goes on to activate the central executive nervous system of the brain, which is purposed around clear and focused thinking. Now, there are research work that goes on to showcase that our brains only occupy less than 20% when it comes to clear and focused thinking. So when you engage periodically, regularly in activities like this, which is through journaling, reflective journaling, going into the details and deep dive into these items time and again, you are actually training your subconscious to behave in a certain way. And clear and focused thinking then is not a well thought out task, but it becomes something which you engage by default. without even realizing that it's something which is required for you to do. So yeah, that's it. It really brings a lot of self-awareness into the whole system, so to say, while also enables you to harness a lot of neuroplasticity, which is about building more and more neural connections inside your brain based on learnings and experiences. And you become more and more open to whatever is coming across your way in the form of challenges or experiences or learnings. And then you try to internalize that, process that, convert that into a set of meaningful actions so that it works wonders for you.
Which means that you get a lot of clarity out of a cloud of confusions, because you get into a journey. There's a lot of paths. Now, I think journaling is going to help you narrow down to which path can probably lead to a possible accomplishment of your goals.
Yes,
That's
certainly.
right.
Reflective journaling certainly lets you prioritize what matters most in a particular context at a certain point of time.
Yeah.
And hence, it makes a lot of sense to actually review that periodically, because what might be relevant right now may not be relevant, let's say, 2 months down the line.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
know, the context might have changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a part of the risk management framework that you have designed as a part of the coaching.
Yes.
And it starts from the phase one itself.
Yes.
Like from day one with your clients.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's amazing. Now let's just get to the very basics of career coaching. Now, let's say from people who are just about to, get into the careers or just about to start working. Now, I remember, when I had my first interview, there was a list of questions that was asked to me. Tell me more about yourself, or what are your strengths and weakness? Yeah. And for which I had absolutely no clue, because I have a lot of strengths and I don't have weakness. What, according to you, do you think would be an effective answer so that you can position yourself as a true professional in front of the, while attending an interview?
Yeah. So some of these questions, as you rightly pointed out, are very standard and seem to be very generic, but these require very specific responses so that there is an explicit communication of what you're trying to hint at and where you're trying to point at. Because these questions, the starting questions, actually set the pace and the tone and the direction of the interviews in that context. And you can literally guide interviewers in a direction you would want to, and not just leave yourself to the whims and caprices of the interviewers, who might then ask you something out of the box and then you might not have enough responses to it. So it really works a lot to your advantage if you craft your responses in a way that it communicates the whole objective in a very clear and concise and succinct manner. So coming to the first question, which is about introduction, let me tell you very frankly, nobody is actually bothered about who you have in your family, where you come from, etc. It's all about positioning yourself and the value that you're trying to bring to the table when you're communicating or conversing with that individual. So it's very essential to focus on the skill sets that you have. You focus on the goals and the aspirations that you would like to talk about, and the value that you might have created through your work or through your academic projects if you are in colleges. If you're appearing, let's say, for a job interview and you're already working, then it could be around positioning yourself through various key projects or the critical projects that you might have worked on in the professional space so far, the value added, the criticality of those initiatives, and the kind of impact that they might have had on the overall organization. The second question, which is at the top of the minds of the interviewers, is getting to know you more from the weakness standpoint. Now, when they ask this question to you, the idea or the objective in their mind is not to, belittle you or to get to know what your weaknesses or negative pointers are, but they're literally trying to gauge you or assess you from the point that how you address those weaknesses. Are there actions that you take to actually drive those weaknesses away and convert them into strengths for your own betterment and good?
I have a question. Is there a right or wrong answer to this? Yeah,
there is a wrong answer to it. There is a wrong answer to this in the way that the response is formulated. So if you just mention about a weakness, that is not relevant from the job perspective.
Okay.
right?
Right.
So if I say I have the weakness of not being able to wake up every morning early, this doesn't concern the question
Yeah.
or the
Yeah, sure.
or the so the first of all, the weakness has to be very relevant to the kind of role that you're appearing for.
Okay.
And there has to be a strong focus on how you're trying to work on the weaknesses as well. So you narrate the weakness, which is fine, but you just don't stop there. You talk about some of the actions that you're trying to take to address those weaknesses or systemic concerns which concern your personality at this point of time.
I think that's the most important thing that
Yeah.
interviewers are looking at.
Right.
And now coming to the third.
Now, the third question, which I think is again quite important and crucial, is the way you question the interviewer himself or herself. And it really leaves a lasting impression depending on the questions that you ask to the interviewer once the interview is about to getting over. Now, some of the key questions that you should be asking and why you should be asking these questions is because of the fact that it definitely goes on to show that you're very curious as an individual. You're really very serious about the position that you're applying for. And the third point is that you're really looking forward to contribute to this role, plus also the fact that you have done your own bit of research before arriving in this interview process.
Yeah.
So I think some of the questions that really work well in the context of interviews is around, let's say, what could be some of the KPIs that I would be evaluated on if I get hired for this role or when I get onboarded on this role within 6 months of my joining or 6 months of the time frame.
Got it.
You can also go through a lot of public disclosure, the reports of those companies that you are appearing for, the purpose of getting yourself interviewed, and pick out some really critical pointers from their disclosures, reports, and what the concerns are, and ask some really pointing questions as to what their strategies are or actions that they're trying to take as far as managing XYZ set of issues, which has found its way into the public discourse. So that really goes on to show how much work have you done in the process to make sure that you're well positioned and prepared for the role that you're eyeing for.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think we all have a very typical mindset that the career coaching is only for people who are just at the start of, just to be acquired at the start of the career, or probably just fresh graduates. But I guess it's very important that you need to have a coach at different levels of your career, and especially when you're having a big transformation from an employee level to probably heading on to a business. And I guess all the information that we have discussed today, I'm sure it's beneficial for the audience who's listening to this. But if you're going to summarize some of the key points that we have discussed today, what would it be?
Silini, risk management is one of the crucial elements to address whenever it comes to handling any transformation projects, even be it in the context of our own personal state of affairs, be it in the context of careers or managing our own businesses. So if at any point of time you feel that there is a risk-based view on how careers and businesses can be better managed, you're very much welcome to get connected to me, and I'd be more than happy to, take this conversation and journey forward in terms of helping you out with tools and techniques. Thank you.